Thank you so much for attending, everyone. Now we can begin. So I'll give a quick intro of who Anvi is. Anvi Brahmbhatt is an incoming second year at UCLA, and she is majoring in molecular, cell, and developmental biology. She is currently on the pre-med track, and she was very involved and felt that she definitely got the most out of her high school experience, and she will be sharing that with everyone today. So I will now hand it over to you, Anvi.
Right, awesome, thank you. Real quick before we start, can all of you guys, or whoever wants to, can you just type in the chat box and let me know if you are in high school, if you have, like if you're a graduated senior or if you're in college? Just let me know. I'll give you guys like 2 minutes. Okay, so it seems like the vast majority of you guys are in high school, which is good. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my journey to UCLA. Specifically, I'm going to be focusing on high school, what I did in high school, and the college application process. So that will be helpful for you guys. Can you move on to the next slide? All right, so really short intro slide, but as Rajvi said, I'm Anvi. I'm an incoming second year at UCLA, majoring in molecular cell and developmental biology. I'm on the pre-med track, and I went to Milpitas High, just graduated in 2019. All right, next slide. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by talking about the basics of kind of like what you should be doing in high school, and then like what I personally did to follow along with this. So I think there's like two big things in high school that people kind of have to worry about. The first is like important numbers, and the second is extracurriculars. So in terms of important numbers, the first is GPA. So obviously grades are extremely important. Make sure you stay on top of it. Colleges are getting very, they're very competitive and hard to get into, and the competition's increasing every year. So it's really important that you guys maintain a very good GPA. But if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. I'll be talking about my own experience with that as well. You're not like completely screwed if you don't have straight A's, you're fine. And the second is standardized tests. I know that has changed recently. I know that now like the SAT and the ACT are optional because of COVID and everything like that. And I'll be going over that in the next slide as well. For extracurriculars, I recommend that you guys find a couple of extracurriculars that you guys are passionate about and commit. So whether it's different organizations on campus, different clubs, like sports teams, anything that you guys find interesting, do it. Now, what's really important here is do what you like and don't do what colleges think you will like. You never want to be like that basic college applicant, you know, just like straight A's and like you did all of like the basic requirements, like, oh, I joined this sports team and I did that. I think nowadays what colleges are looking for is you join things that pertain to your interests and your passions and you go far in them. So you obtain like those leadership positions, you do different projects, you do different things to actually kind of like make a difference in make an impact in the community, or you're like furthering your own knowledge, you're growing and you're developing as an individual. So do the basics, but don't be basic. Next slide. Okay. So now I'm going to be talking about my personal experiences with each of these categories. So in terms of grades, I go to UCLA, but I did not have straight A's in high school. And that's why I'm saying grades are not the end of it. You should definitely maintain good grades, but don't think that if you get a couple of like B's here and there, you're totally screwed. You're fine, because nowadays colleges do have a holistic application review process. So what they're going to do is not only are they going to look at your grades, they're going to look at every single aspect of your application. So your grades, standardized tests, extracurriculars, they're going to take into account, you know, where, like what area you came from, and your current circumstances. As for standardized tests, I took the SAT and the ACT. They were required when I was applying. And I took an SAT prep course, and just like my 2 cents on it, I think prep courses can be worth it or they can't. It all depends on what kind of a learner you are. So if you are someone who needs like a teacher, or you just want some like professional insight into the exam, I think prep courses are worth it. Sometimes they might not be worth the money that they cost, but it depends. I personally was a person who I lose focus very easily. So I need someone to kind of like keep me down and just be like, okay, like do these problems tonight. And like, I need someone to assign me homework and actually make me do it. And so for me, it was personally valuable. However, I took an SAT prep course and I took the SAT, but I performed significantly better on the ACT. And I didn't prep for the ACT at all. So I think that regardless of what prep course you do, it does prepare you for both tests, and try out both tests, because you never know. Like, you might have trained for the SAT, but you might just naturally be a lot better at the ACT. And that was the case for me. So definitely try out both. Now, because it is optional, don't feel pressure to take it if you are not in like a good financial situation. If you aren't in like the correct like mindset for it, don't stress. But I think if you do have like the time and the money for it, you might as well just do it. And if you score well, put on your application. It can't hurt. It can only help. For SAT subject tests, I took the Math 2 subject test and I took the chemistry subject test. I honestly did not score very well on them, like definitely not as well as my peers were doing. So I don't think they're that important. I actually probably didn't even submit one of them to a lot of my schools because of the scores that I got. So again, they do look good if you score well, but if not, it's really not the end of the world because you still have a whole application to show them. Now for extracurriculars, so when I came to high school, I knew that I was interested in biology and I was probably going to be on the pre-med track when applying for college. So I thought that, like, oh, I'm going to high school, I need to apply for all these like different organizations on campus that are very academic. So I thought, maybe I should do like Science Olympiad, win a couple like medals there, and that would look good. Or I should do speech and debate and win tournaments. And I thought that might look better. But frankly, like when I went to the information meetings, they just weren't interesting to me. They're great organizations. If you're interested in them, go ahead and do them. But because they weren't that interesting to me, I just decided not to pursue them. And I think a really big thing about that is if you do something half-heartedly, you're not going to succeed in it. And that's just like the truth over there. Like, it's just going to be a very kind of like a painful process for you. It's going to be a lot of work, just like unnecessary work too. You're not going to be really happy or satisfied all the time. So I definitely recommend, pursue your passions and go all in. So that's what I did. I did student government all 4 years of high school. I absolutely loved it. I loved the idea of working with fellow student leaders on campus to plan events for the student body. And I thought that was my way of giving back to the campus and community. So I did student government all 4 years. I even served as the ASB vice president my senior year. And I led, through student government, I led many different projects and events on campus. So I think a lot of my college application was focused on my passion for service. So definitely, I led the Jack Emery Drive, which in Milpitas, that is a drive in which we collect cans and money to donate to the Milpitas Food Pantry. I love that, and I went all in for that. It was a pretty good experience. And I've also led like different events like Trojan Olympics, which is our battle of the classes, different kindness weeks, just spirit days, like anything for the student body, we all did. And it was a really great experience. My junior year, through leadership, I founded and I led the Hurricane Harvey Drive. So that was when Hurricane Harvey struck Texas. One of our teachers had extended family in one of the school districts that was affected. So I decided to start up a drive to help that school district. And I think this was a pretty big part of my application because it showed that, I had like this passion for serving the community and I took initiative. I stepped up when I had the opportunity to do so. And I kind of led this whole project on my own. We ended up raising over 3,000 school supplies, over $1,000. It became like a pretty big story in the Bay Area too. So that was definitely, it was good for my college apps, but honestly, it was so satisfying for me too. Like it was a really great experience. I also was the co-founder of a club called Girl Up. That was a female empowerment club on campus. And back then in high school, like when we founded the club, there weren't that many clubs specifically geared towards empowering women. So my friends and I decided to do that. And I was also a member of the National Honor Society. So this is actually one of like the clubs that I would say like you should probably join, like an academic related one, like either National Honor Society, or I think there's CSF, which is California Scholarship Federation, something like that. Yeah. Do one of those. I think those look really good because it shows that, you have like that academic rigor in you. you've maintained a really good, like solid GPA, and you're part of this kind of like prestigious organization. And that did look pretty good. And I did get a leadership position in that as well. I was a freshman, sophomore liaison. So I basically helped integrate like our younger club members into the club, because a lot of our events were geared towards juniors and seniors. And, you know, just overall for extracurriculars, definitely just do things that you're interested in. Don't feel pressure to do what you think is right and what you think colleges will like, because colleges just don't like basic students. That's one thing I've learned. Like, if you're just going to be like that average person doing like some academics, some random extracurriculars every year, that's not really, that doesn't make you stand out. It doesn't show that you're a passionate, like well-rounded individual. Definitely deep dive into a couple of your passions and go all in, get those leadership positions. Also, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. You know, like I honestly wouldn't have done a lot of these things just considering my personality. Like I used to be a very reserved type of person, especially coming into high school. Like my freshman year in student government, I was a very shy kid. Like I did not talk. But I was just interested in working with others in a team and planning these events. And I think because I loved it so much, it really helped me develop all these leadership skills, these public speaking skills, and I was able to do a lot with it. And I even decided to like go a little bit further. I think one of my favorite high school experiences was emceeing for our school's rallies. It was really awesome. I emceed our multicultural rally my junior year. I had never done anything like it before. It was a completely impulsive decision. It was honestly terrifying. Like in front of 3,000 kids, you got to talk. Like that's not easy, but it was really fun, really fulfilling at the end. And so I think some of your favorite high school experiences are definitely going to come from these extracurriculars. And the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. You know, like you reap what you sow. So definitely keep that in mind. Next slide. Okay, so this is my schedule for the classes that I took throughout high school. Okay, so now you guys are going to see like there's a consistency of student government at the bottom. I'll just put like a quick like disclaimer out there. Student government is a class on campus. So it is an extracurricular activity that is one of like your classes on your schedule. So I did have to sacrifice a lot of things to do this extracurricular. For example, my freshman year, I could not take, we had a mandatory geography class. I couldn't take that. So I had to take another one over the summer. My sophomore year, I think I was fine there, but junior year, I was definitely missing another year of history. And senior year, I actually sacrificed AP Spanish for student government. If you guys can't take AP Spanish, please do it because it is helpful in college. I personally didn't do it. It's not really a regret though, because I was doing things that I cared about and things that I loved. But I will kind of deep dive into this. So I applied as a bio major. So I'm all about STEM. And so if you guys can kind of see, freshman and sophomore year, it was just mainly like me doing kind of like the requirements that you need for high school. So, you know, getting in those English classes, those math classes, I think PE was a requirement too. So I did all of that. But starting junior and senior year, I really focused on making my schedule STEM oriented. I personally like love STEM. And so I decided like it would be better if I decided to, you know, kind of like dedicate my school year to studying subjects that I was actually interested in. And once I had room in my schedule to do so, like my senior year, that is all STEM except for AP English. And that was definitely like a very great experience for me. Yeah. And yeah, took my other graduation requirements over the summer or along the side. All right, next slide. Okay, and these are just college app tips in general for those of you who are applying. Even if you won't be applying this year, it's never too early to start, so this is good. When you're getting ready to apply for colleges is to choose the right schools for you. So you should definitely look at each university's mission and values and think like, do they align with your own values and interests? So for me personally, UCLA's mission and values, they are all about research and service to their community. And that is something that I really like. I think research is pretty interesting. I definitely do want to get involved in it because I do like seeing like the applications of what you learn in the classroom in the field itself. That to me is really cool. And I'm all about community service, helping the community, you know, outreach in that sense. And so UCLA was definitely a school that I personally identified with. So that was one of the top choices for me when I was applying. So you can do the same with any of your, like if you're still thinking about what universities you want to apply to, definitely do take a look at their missions and values and see like if they align with you or not, because that is exactly what the university is about. That is what they will kind of like push your way once you enroll in that university. Okay, the second is to create a list of dream, target, and safety. It should say schools. I don't know why it says rules. But dream, target, and safety schools. So I know we all have dream schools. Like we all want to get into like that one perfect university and life would be great if we got in. But the reality is they are very difficult to get into. A lot of them have acceptance rates of less than 5%. So you should have dream, target, and safety schools. Dream is the one that are the schools that you want to go to, you want to get into, but they're really hard to get into. Target are ones that you are very interested in attending and they are reachable. So you have a pretty good chance of getting into those target schools. It's kind of like a 50-50 or maybe like a 60-40. And safety schools are schools that you know that you probably like 99% you for sure will get into. And have a lot of schools in each category. So dream, maybe not really, but definitely have a lot of target and a lot of safety schools. A lot of times I've seen a lot of my fellow peers, like they chose to apply to like 4 universities. And it's all a numbers game, you know, like sometimes you might get into all 4, you might get into only 1, but a lot of times they wouldn't get into any, and then they wouldn't really have an option for like, if they wanted to go straight to a 4-year university. So definitely have plenty of schools you can apply to if, you know, you're financially able to do so. And like a pro tip is to organize everything into a spreadsheet. Having everything in one sheet online makes it so easy. You can access it anywhere. So, you know, include the name of the schools, like the different application deadlines, links to like important websites that you need, links to the application website, just different things like that. All right, so another thing too is many schools require supplemental essays and items. So I think there's like the Common App, which is, you know, like your standard, you write down 10 activities, you have an essay, you submit. But a lot of schools have supplemental essays as well, like specific to their university. So I think like privates like Stanford, Santa Clara University, things like that, they each have like 2 to 3 or even more sometimes. A lot of them, some schools have a lot of questions. And they have questions specific to their university. So that is like a separate kind of application that you need to submit to their university as well. So make sure you guys kind of keep in mind and know all of those supplemental items that you guys will need, especially, and do these like ahead of time, because you don't want to be scrambling last minute to write an essay or to, you know, find or find like a past essay or project that you've done. Because a lot of Ivies do require you to, I think like Brown requires you to submit like a past essay that you've written before. A lot of times people require portfolios depending on your major and stuff as well. And start collecting all of your transcripts and note your extracurricular activities. So maybe if you have like a resume already, that might make it easier. But if you have all this information already with you, it will make it a lot easier to fill out like that basic information section on your application itself. And do all of this like very ahead of time. So I would say actually your junior year of high school, you should already kind of be thinking about the schools you want to apply to and all the different things that they require, so that, you know, maybe if Brown requires a graded essay for you to submit as a supplemental item, you can maybe focus on writing a really good supplemental essay. And a lot of times these schools do have or require letters of recommendation, and those require you to establish like very good relationships with different teachers or mentors that you have had, so you kind of know like what to keep in mind. And lastly, okay, deciding on your major or your career path. So there are kind of like different paths you can take. One is to look at different subjects in school that have been particularly interesting to you. So for example, for me, I always loved science and I loved biology. Like I loved it. My freshman year, I took bio. I did really well in it. It was something that I And next is what extracurricular activities or experiences that you've had in different fields have you enjoyed? So a lot of times if you've done internships or, you know, if you volunteered at different places, then like if you're like in that setting, you kind of get like a feel of what you want to do. So for example, I know a lot of my pre-med peers, like they volunteered at hospitals. A lot of them have done research too already in high school. I personally didn't do research, but people have volunteered, done that, and like they've decided like medicine is the field for them and that's what they want to do. So definitely exploring different career paths, talking to different people, and immersing yourself into the field, kind of getting firsthand experience and a firsthand look, that will definitely be very helpful. And lastly, it is okay to go undecided. A lot of people go undecided to college, and college is honestly like one of like the best times for you to explore your passions and your interests. So, if you just can't make up your mind, go in undecided. And colleges are usually very, like, they actually promote that sometimes. Like, they really like when students are trying to explore and discover like their passions and their interests. So it is definitely okay to go undecided. But I will give like a quick tip. If you think you might be pursuing like further degrees, like for example, like pre-med, you're going to go to med school, or if you're pre-health, like nursing, PA school, it is kind of helpful to have what you want to do, like to kind of have that down earlier on, because you do have to do many more years of schooling afterwards. But it is by like no means a requirement. Take your time with it. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now essays are kind of like the third big thing on your college apps. Like other than your grades and your extracurriculars, essays, they're huge. And honestly, your essays can make or break your application. And I think I definitely learned that the hard way. So just telling you guys right now. Biggest thing is start early. So start writing your essays around the end of your junior year. Take the summer to revise them and make them perfect. So like I was saying, kind of like look at what schools you want to apply to and kind of decide them by the end of your junior year, so that at the end of your junior year, you can write the essays specific to the universities you want to apply to. Make sure that they include things about you that are not already on the application. So for example, okay, yeah, this is a big one. You do not want to write about an extracurricular you've already described in another section of your application. Make sure that your essays offer the admissions officers an insight into who you truly are and something that they haven't already seen. So let's say I did like student government, right? I don't want to write another essay on, I did student government and just like write all about it. I would say only write about an extracurricular if there's like an interesting background story, or if you want to expand on something that you didn't really get a chance to do so in other parts of your application. And once again, your essays can be on anything. Make sure that they reflect all aspects of your personality. So I applied as a bio major, pre-med, but my essays, honestly, for UCLA specifically, I don't think none of my essays were about anything science related. I wrote essays on the most random things. I actually wrote an essay on how I designed my own Indian outfits. I wrote an essay on fashion, and I literally got into UCLA for bio. So that literally shows like you can write about anything. It just needs to reflect your own personality. So that, for example, showed my creativity and how, I expressed my creativity through that outlet. So that showed admissions officers that aspect about myself that they wouldn't have seen in any other part of my application. And once again, don't try to impress admissions officers. It won't work. I've honestly read a lot of articles about how admissions officers are kind of like talking about how students always try to portray themselves as these scholars and as these perfect people. But that is honestly, that does not make you unique or special in any way, because everybody's trying to portray themselves as these perfect human beings, but you're really not. So just be natural and be yourself. And I think this is a really big piece of advice, this last bullet point. Have people read over them, but don't let them change your essay. A lot of times, it is really important. Have people read over your essays. A lot of people will catch grammatical errors, mistakes that you will not be able to catch yourself. And if someone else can understand your essay, that's like a good sign, because, when you're writing your essay, you have your own thoughts in your head. You already know what you're writing about. But if someone else can understand what you have written, then you know that you have written something that is good. However, a lot of times what people will try to do is they're going to be like, oh, I don't think that you should include that sentence in your essay, or I don't think you should include that sentence in your essay. And slowly your essay is going to go from a very unique piece of writing to something that's very basic and standard. And that is something you definitely want to avoid, because you lose your uniqueness right there. Like, you don't stand out. It takes away the originality of the piece of writing. So stay true to yourself. Do what you personally feel is right. Trust your intuitions. Write about what you want to write about. Don't let anybody else tell you what you should write about. Because once again, you want to give them like the best aspects of yourself, not of like some basic student. And lastly, letters of rec, which are pretty important for some universities. Personally, the UCs do not require them, or I don't even think they accept them, except for like certain very specific programs. But every school has different requirements. Take note of them, and get letters of recommendation for people who know you very, very well. So the more personalized a letter of rec is, the more valuable it is. And so this is also kind of why you want to look into like what universities are interesting to you from the beginning. Because if you kind of go in mind, like certain universities require, letters of rec from like English teachers, or like they want a letter of rec from a teacher in the humanities department, and they want a letter of rec from a teacher in like the STEM department. If you already kind of go in with that, you can work on establishing like good connections with those teachers. And the more personal your relationship is with them, the more personal your letter is going to be, and the more valuable it's going to be, because they're going to be able to kind of write you a very unique letter of recommendation describing very unique parts of your personality. And that's just going to make you stand out all the more. And also ask early. Do not ask teachers last minute. That doesn't work. Some teachers will straight up just refuse to write you one if you ask them last minute. And a lot of times if you rush people into writing a letter of rec for you, it will not come out as original as you might want it to be. People do require lots of time for that stuff. And yeah, next slide. Yeah, I think that's it in general for the college application process. My contact information is over here. So if you guys have any questions, you can email me, DM me, any of that. But now I'm going to leave it open to questions. So if you guys have questions about my experiences at UCLA, anything specific you want me to kind of like expand upon or explain further, I'm open to doing that.
Thank you so much. So yeah, if anyone has questions that they want to ask, please write them in the chat box. Okay. So Davelin is asking, are letters of recs only from one teacher, or do you need to ask multiple people?
All right. Also, sorry, side note, if you guys are too shy to ask in the group, you can personally DM me those questions as well. Letters of rec only from one. Okay, so that depends on the university. Certain schools require letters of rec from many teachers, or like different types, like different teachers. Certain only require one letter of recommendation. So you definitely have to go on the school's website and look specifically into like what they have detailed out for you.
Okay, and then
so, yeah.
Henna is asking, what are some clubs at UCLA?
Okay, so what subjects do you like, or what areas are you kind of asking about?
I think maybe we'll give her some time to
Okay.
write about that so we can move on. Sydney is asking, how did you complete your PE credits?
Oh, yes. Okay. So I did only take 1 year of PE because I chose to take student government instead of PE my sophomore year. Back then, I had the option for online PE. So that's what I personally did. I now know that at least at Milpitas High School, they have taken that option out. So something that you can do is the way that I'm speaking for MHS here. I'm sorry if you guys go to a different high school, but specifically at Milpitas High, the way that the teachers and like the staff have designed your 4-year plan is so that you can have one gap period your senior year. My gap period, I chose to become a lab assistant for my AP chemistry teacher. So that is what I did instead. But a lot of people, especially in ASB, do choose to do PE their senior year because they weren't able to do it throughout any other years at high school.
Okay, and then back to the club question, Henna is asking specifically about science or community service clubs.
Okay, there are honestly a lot. I don't really like, there's a lot. If you're talking about science related, I do know there's a lot of, I don't really remember the names specifically because I'm in more of like medical related public health clubs, but there are a lot of science and community service clubs. And actually, if you guys Google UCLA SOLE, like SOLE, it should take you to a web page that will, it's kind of like an online database of all the clubs at UCLA. So then you can actually filter out and search through like specific subjects or areas, and you guys can explore different clubs that UCLA offers there.
Awesome. Next question, essays. Should they be unique and formal?
Yes, be unique and formal. However, they don't need to be too formal. Like you can, I know, like for example, I know Stanford has one supplemental essay, and that is write a letter to your roommate. That definitely doesn't have to be formal. But in general, you still want to, have good grammar, be formal. It's not like you're talking to like your friend, but you can also find ways to make it kind of like fun and unique while keeping it formal as well. So it should be a balance of both.
Okay, awesome. So then the next question is for Mayushri. At UCLA, was it easy to get the classes that you wanted, or did they get full easily?
No, it was not easy to get the classes I wanted. They do get very full easily. I'm currently experiencing that right now, actually. So, oh, that's funny. But yeah, it honestly depends. I know that when you're entering as a freshman, you guys have certain like spots reserved in certain classes already for you. So that does make it a little bit easier. However, when you are originally enrolling, it is kind of difficult to get classes, especially if they are the more popular ones. But there are definitely many ways to kind of like go around it. Sometimes you just get lucky with your enrollment time, so that's good for you. If not, a lot of people usually drop during weeks 1 and 2 for in your classes, so you can definitely like check then, enroll then as well, and get on the wait list if you can. Ask teachers for PTEs, which are specific numbers and codes that allow you to enroll in a course that's already full. So sometimes if you email the professor and you tell them, I'm really interested in this class, or I need to take it to graduate or to move on to another course in the future, definitely just email them. There's many ways to go around it.
Okay, awesome. And then Noelle is asking, so she is interested in chemistry, but her extracurriculars only include speech and debate. She does have classes like biotech and AP Chem, but she's asking if the clubs should be more related to what she wants to do, because she wants to join Science Olympiad, but she fears it's too late, and so she doesn't want to join for the sole intention of showing her interest. So I guess what she's trying to ask is, should she change her extracurriculars to make it look like, what she's interested in?
What grade are you in right now in high school?
I think Noelle, because I know her personally, she's going to be a junior.
She's going to be a junior? I don't think it's too late to join Science Olympiad. If you want to, if you're genuinely interested, because I joined NHS my junior year. I decided to do a lot of things my junior and senior year of high school. My freshman and sophomore year, I definitely the time to kind of explore and just figure out my interests there. So you can definitely still join it. It's not too late. And if you're not really interested, I feel like speech and debate is fine as long as you kind of show like your commitment and, maybe you have a leadership position in that club or you've won certain tournaments. Maybe I would recommend, if you don't really have an extracurricular outside of school related to chemistry, then try joining a chem-related club on campus. If that doesn't exist, you can always start one, or pursue any kind of chem-related project on the side. It's not too late. You still have time.
Okay. Next question, Ashley is asking, are the dorms or apartments around the campus or in the city expensive?
Yes, they are. They are expensive. We have many different types of dorms on campus too. We have triples, doubles, private bath, communal bath, and obviously the more kind of like exclusive you get, the more expensive it's going to be. So doubles are more expensive than triples. Private bathrooms are more expensive than communal. But, there is financial aid that's offered, and you can choose your dorm style too. So if you can't afford like a more expensive dorm, a cheaper dorm is perfectly fine. They have better social lives too. So, yeah.
Awesome. Davelin is asking, do you have tips on how to be successful in AP Science classes in high school?
Yes. Definitely form good relationships with the teachers and go to them after school. That one, like not a lot of people do that. And, people study on their own and they get good grades, but I feel like going to the teachers after school is so helpful because they're going to give you an insight onto, what they're specifically looking for in your assignments. They might drop hints about what's going to be on the test. And once you show them that you have a genuine interest and you want to perform well in the class, they will definitely do anything that they can to help you. I personally know, like for AP chemistry, I was not doing well at the beginning, like even in my lab reports and stuff, like it wasn't that great. But once I started going after school, like it was good. It was really good. Like my grades significantly improved and I did a lot better.
Nice. Now Noelle is asking, for essays, is it generic to write about how you became hardworking? So for example, a struggling student who took upon various challenges to advance her opportunities.
I really like that actually. That topic that you described, it seems like a good one as long as it's like a unique story. So don't describe, I would say don't describe like the basic challenges, like, oh, I got a C on my chem test once. And then I kind of realized, unless there was like something like huge about that C and like it affected you in some way, definitely write about meaningful challenges to you. So it's not generic to write about how you became hardworking, but make sure you have unique struggles, unique challenges, and just like kind of like a different story than what you would expect.
Okay, great. Angela is asking, how big are the classes, I'm assuming at UCLA, and are you able to get close to your professors and do research under them?
Okay, so there are two types of classes at UCLA. There are the lower division classes and the upper division classes. So the lower division classes, so specifically I'm a life science major. So I am like one of like 20 life science majors. We have a lot. So what it is the lower division courses are courses that all life science majors take. So they are huge. Like I've had classes from like 300 to 500 students. Like we've had big auditoriums filled up. And those are for lower divs though. Once you get to your upper divs, the classes become really small, like classes of 40 or even 20 at some point. So it is definitely easier to become closer to your professors in the upper division courses because the classes are smaller. However, it is not impossible. If your classes are big, it's not really a big deal because professors at college do have office hours. If you go to their office hours, you talk to them, you can still get to know them personally. And, if you like ask them enough, you could possibly do research under them.
Awesome. And then Fardeen, sorry if I messed that name up, is asking, how are AP scores weighed in on the application? And they're giving an example of if someone took WAP, and so I'm assuming that's world history, AP world history, and they got a poor AP score, but they are applying as a STEM major, would it matter as much?
Okay, I personally took AP world history. I did not do that well on it. Like my AP score wasn't that great. But I don't think it matters. I personally don't think it matters that much because if you're a STEM major, you kind of want to show that you're more inclined for STEM subjects. So it is still like be well-rounded and stuff. And like, it is good to have good AP scores throughout, regardless of the subject that it is. However, if you haven't done that like as well in WAP, then it's honestly fine. Just make sure you do really well in those STEM AP courses because those are going to be, they're going to look at them a little bit differently, know that you're applying as a major in those fields.
Okay, great. Davelin is asking, did you apply to any private schools? And if you did you apply early action, early decision? And do you think it is significantly different from regular admissions?
I did apply to private schools. I actually applied to a lot of universities. I applied to over 30. And I did do early action for one of them. I would say do early action if it's like your dream school, because a lot of times what early action and early decision, like they have restrictions. So they're like, if you're doing early action here, you can't apply early action anywhere else. So they do have restrictions like that. So definitely kind of like prioritize, like, do you really want to go to that school? Like if you get in, are you definitely going to go? Think like that. And do you think it's significantly different? It can be. Yeah, it is kind of different because private school applications are a lot bigger and like different. The UC application is very simple. It's, you fill out your extracurriculars, 4 essays, you submit, and you can send it to any UC you want. For private schools, however, it's a separate application for each private university. And you have to, you kind of have to personalize your application to each school. Kind of like depending, because each school's gonna have different questions. They might value different things. So you definitely want to tailor your application to those different universities. However, one also, like another tip, when you're applying to schools, don't try to mold yourself into being like the perfect applicant for that school because they are still looking for diversity. So still stay yourself, like stay true to yourself. But for these like private schools, if they're going to ask like specific questions and stuff. So it's different.
Awesome. And is there a difference between early action and early decision?
There is. I can't really remember off the top of my head. I believe restrictive early action, I think it might, or one of those two, I think early action might just be like you apply to that school early and you might not be able to apply anywhere else. And maybe decision is you have to commit to that specific university. Not too sure. But early action is, okay, never mind. Early action is binding. So, yes.
So,
let me quickly search that up, actually.
All
it's
right.
pretty simple. Okay, yeah. Like I said before, early decisions are binding, early actions are non-binding.
Okay.
So basically, if you do early decision, you have to commit to that university. If you do early action, you don't have to commit. Yeah.
Awesome. And then, does anyone, so okay, I don't think anyone has any more questions. Okay, Sydney is asking, do you have any other extracurriculars that weren't mentioned?
I did, yes. So I did do girls tennis my freshman and sophomore year of high school. I didn't really like commit to it throughout high school though, but I did do it for 2 years. I'm trying to think. I might have just done like community service. And that was pretty much it. Yeah. Community service.
So I guess we can, since we still have around 10 minutes, I will, because we had a Google form where people who signed up, they could submit questions that they might have. So I'll just read off of some of those just to use up time for anyone who wants to listen to our recording after. Okay, so are you happy with your decision to go to UCLA? And do you ever feel stressed or overwhelmed by the competitiveness of the school?
I'm definitely happy about it. I honestly love it. Like it can get stressful at times because it is a very distinguished, it's like high ranked university. So classes and everything are harder, but I think I made a really good decision because once again, like as I mentioned earlier, UCLA's mission and values definitely align with my own. And so I feel like it's a very fitting school for me. And what was the second part of the question?
The second part was, are you ever overwhelmed with the competitiveness of the school?
Okay. Sometimes you do get overwhelmed because you see so many other people like doing so many things at once. So it is really important to stay focused on yourself and, just work on your own path. Don't really worry about what other people are doing. However, like I personally think at UCLA, I'm really happy about this. I think students are really collaborative. Like there are competitive students here and there who like won't really want to like help you and stuff. But in a lot of my classes have been a really great experience for me because I've found so many other students who are willing to, like work with me and they just like love helping each other succeed. We don't really have like grade deflation at UCLA either, where only a certain amount of students can get A's. Like if you work hard enough for it, you're going to get it. So I definitely like that about UCLA.
Awesome. And then another question is, how is life at college and how do you manage your time?
Life at college is good, if that's like the kind of like general question. Yeah, it's good. Like do things that you're interested in. Definitely take out time for yourself. Managing time, I would say write everything down in a planner. I live by a planner. Plan things out, plan out your time as well. I think blocking your time is a really effective strategy. Where like you block out certain periods of time, you're going to take like this much time to do a certain assignment, to study, take breaks for yourself. Remember to breathe.
Awesome. And another person submitted a question. How is it as a biology major? So it's a pretty general question, but just try your best to answer it.
It's good as a biology major. It's something that I'm really interested in, so I'm happy that I'm doing it. Currently, I'm doing my lower divs, so they're very general. I'm learning about all the life sciences, all different subjects, but once I get to my upper division courses, they're going to be more specialized towards my major itself. So I think those will definitely be very enjoyable for me, since it is something I'm really interested in.
So that kind of ties in with the next question someone submitted, like what kinds of topics do you study as a bio major? So do you want to maybe specify like a few?
Specific topics that I study?
Yeah.
My major, I'm literally studying exactly what's in the name of it. So I'm studying biology at the molecular level, cell biology, different processes that happen with cells, and yeah.
Okay.
I think there are questions in the
Yeah,
chat as
in the
well.
chat box.
Okay.
Davlin is asking, do you have any specific tips to find roommates?
It's really on you. You know, a lot of times people find roommates through like Facebook groups for their school. You just like introduce yourself there. Everybody introduces themselves there, and you find roommates that way. You can also go random. I went random. However, random can go one way or the other. You can either end up with really great roommates. Sometimes it can be like a challenging experience as well. It all just kind of like depends on your luck, I guess. But people also like they have found roommates like themselves and they have had pretty bad experiences with them. So it's all it all just kind of like depends.
Right. And why did you choose your major?
I really like biology, and in particular, when I was taking bio, I was always interested in kind of like cells and studying things. Like I just like seeing tiny like little things and like how they function, because cells are so small, but they do so much for your body, and that is so interesting to me. So I really like it. I definitely like seeing like learning about different like things that DNA does, like how DNA is made, those processes as well. I think taking biology really helped with that. And there are many different types of bio as well. Like there's evolutionary biology, there's microbiology. So when you're applying, I think especially for UCLA, it doesn't really matter what kind of bio you apply for. You can always switch your major. I can switch my major right now if I want to, and I wouldn't have to worry about it because all of our lower division courses are the same. So also once you go to college and you explore those lower division courses, you might find something that you never knew like you liked before, and you might really like it.
Awesome. So we have 5 minutes left. Let's see if there's anyone. Okay. Do you have any time management tips?
Yes, schedule everything. So just like I said before, have a planner, schedule everything, block out your time, even block out your breaks. That will be very helpful. And just don't procrastinate. Please don't procrastinate.
Noelle is asking, is your major math heavy?
No, thank God. I only have to take 3 math classes. It's great. They do have coding components to them though. Yay. They do have coding components, but they are pretty manageable. And it was honestly like a good experience. I had a good professor too, but just 1 year.
Okay, awesome. I actually had a question. When did you start writing your essays? Like, did you start them in the summer or like what month?
The end of my junior year. So end of May, early June.
Early June. Okay, awesome. All right. And do you have any chem tips specifically for Meyer? Sorry, not Mayer.
Definitely go to her after school if you ever need help on anything. Don't sleep during class. She lectures a lot, so I used to fall asleep sometimes because I had first period and it was tiring. But pay attention during class, especially what she lectures, and always go to her after school if you need any help. She is she explains concepts so well. She's a really, really good teacher. Really good teacher.
And then from our document that we have, like of the people who submitted questions, someone is asking, does the amount of APs that you take matter?
Oh, okay, yeah, actually. Compared to a lot of other applicants, I did not have that many APs because Milpitas also does have a limit on the amount of APs you can take. We can only take 3 a year. Also, my sophomore year, I only took 1 because I think I wasn't really prepared to take any others. And my junior year, I could have taken 3, but I took student government, so I only took 2. It really doesn't matter. I think it's just, it's all what you make of it. I think if you also show like you're just doing subjects that you're interested in, you're doing well in them, you'll be fine.
Okay. And do you think it makes sense to take the SAT again, like specifically during this time? This person who's asking, Noelle, she said she already took it her sophomore year, but her score wasn't, I guess, as well as she wanted it to be. So then do you think it makes
If you have studied for it, take it again. If you haven't studied for it, you're going to get the same score. So if you've like definitely like spent time like going over, you know, what you think might have been like your kind of like your weaker sides of like the SAT, like maybe you didn't do so well in like the writing section. If you kind of focused on that and you have worked diligently and like you've tried to improve, then take it again. However, if you haven't really practiced that much, you can try, but I'm pretty sure you're just going to get the same score.
Okay. All right. So if nobody has any more questions, I think we can wrap it up. So once again, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us.
Sure.
My team and I really appreciate it. So for everyone listening, and you too, Anvi, if you would like to access the recording, we will be putting it on our YouTube channel, and we'll just notify everyone because we have to upload it and everything. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you for speaking with us. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great day.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Bye.